Hello, everybody. Ian Barkin back again with yet another episode of OneTAKE Live. So excited to be coming to you today. We've got a really exciting show. Before we get on with it, want to wish everyone health, happiness, safety. Hope everyone is well. We've got a big SYKES family in the Philippines. Hope everyone there is doing okay. They just had a typhoon, and so I hope everyone is dry, is recovering, and our thoughts go out to you. For those who have watched the show before, you know that OneTAKE is about exploring the future of work, life, and culture. And we do so by having really interesting discussions with visionaries, entrepreneurs, academics, authors, and just game changers on so many different topics, but in digital transformation and education reform, in diversity, equity, and inclusion, customer experience, and service. And today is no different. But before we invite our guests onto the show, want to remind everyone, please do check out the SYKES Quarterly. SYKES Quarterly is a quarterly newsletter. There have been 3 issues so far. The 3rd issue is all about better normal. We do so much talking about this new normal we hope is coming up. But as I say in my article, new is new, but better is better. And really that's what we're striving for. So please check it out. We'll put the links in the show notes and wherever else, and subscribe. So without further ado, I am thrilled to welcome not one, I guess this is 2Take today. Sorry. So this is 2Take. Welcome to 2Take Live. Let's do the whole beginning again. I'm welcoming 2 guests to the show. So welcome to the show, Victor van Baal and David Brain. Victor and David, welcome to 2Take.
Thank you.
Delighted to be here.
Yeah, you've screwed up the whole format by simply being 2 people, but lovely to have you both. So okay, so let's get started. First and foremost, I'm going to ask you the really heavy, hard-hitting questions of who are you, where are you, and what's your favorite color. Keep it short because there's more to come. So let's start with the guy on the top from there, Victor. Who are you? Where are you? What's your favorite color?
So, my name is Victor. I am in Amsterdam. Favorite color, what can I say? Blue, after today.
Ooh, interesting. Foreshadowing, like it. Mr. Brain, can you top that?
Well, I'm David Brain, so thank you for letting that cat out the bag. I'm the Chief Digital Officer here at SYKES. I am in London, just outside London, trying to get out my house at some point. And my favorite color is always blue. So from blue to blue for me.
Nice, very good. So for those tuning in, 2 different things. We've got homework assignments for those tuning in. First and foremost, please share in the comment section your name and where you're joining us from, because we love to see where look, I've got a prop, where in the world you're from, because I've got a guest from here. This whole mirror image thing's throwing me off. I got a guest from here and here, and I'm over here. So please share with us where you're joining us from. Peter from Amsterdam has joined us. AJ from Indianapolis, hello. Jim McLeod from Hilton Head, thanks for joining us, Jim. We've got Peter from Utrecht. Hello, Peter. Sarah Grace from Portland, Oregon. So keep them coming. So, okay. So thank you for joining me. Now, let's talk about November babies. So there are a few different November babies that I want to set us up with, and then I will hand off to you to discuss one. First and foremost is my oldest daughter, who was born today 11 years ago. So she's my favorite November baby. Followed, and then I won't put these in order because then it gets real contentious. But in 2014, November 17th to be exact, 2014, David Brain, mirror images right over there. David Brain and I launched Symphony Ventures. So about 6 years ago, that was a November baby for us. But there is a new bouncing baby business that you guys are here to talk about. So, Mr. Brain, what is said bouncing baby business?
Well, delighted to announce the launch of SYKES Digital Services. So SYKES Digital is the culmination of the digital transformation capabilities that we've been accruing and developing within SYKES over the last 10 years, and bringing those together now under one logo, one vision, and one route to the market.
Outstanding. Congratulations. And what we will do too is, and for everyone watching, do hunt this down on LinkedIn. We've got a brand new website that I think we've got a URL for somewhere that pops up right there if we wanted to. Wow, look at that. Magic. This show is getting high tech. And so please check it out. But as David said, and as I've alluded to on the show, if you've been listening, we are covering a broad spectrum of topics on OneTAKE, specifically because we're able to cover a broad spectrum of topics as an organization. And so I've had so much fun bringing several of my colleagues on the show in the past. In fact, Mr. Brain has been on the show before and didn't screw it up badly enough that we weren't willing to invite him back. So thank you, David.
Am I the first returning guest now to OneTAKE?
That's let's see. There's AJ has been on twice, I think. So now this is just a competition. Now you guys both have to just bribe me to see who can come on the most. So we had a broad set of capabilities, but let's work our way to that for a moment. So 6 years ago, the Symphony Ventures Bouncing Baby business launch was done because we saw in the market a set of trends and a set of needs, opportunity effectively, which was around robotic process automation. And ultimately it was, what is it? How do I apply it? And then can you help me apply it? And so hence we launched Symphony, and the rest is a bit of history there. Tremendous family we built, incredible clients we worked with, and amazing memories that we created. Victor, what are the themes and sort of the needs and opportunities that exist today to be the sort of the rationale for launching SYKES Digital today?
So the big one for me is, of course, us coming together, all businesses in the SYKES family, where we deliver an end-to-end capability to our clients. This year, more than ever, of course, our clients want to see outcome, right? They want that certainty of outcome. So before we dive into that and dive into where we're going to, I think it's really important to realize that we have been delivering all of our capabilities for a number of years successfully, and we firmly believe that today and this year is the right time to launch as one SYKES Digital offering.
Very cool. So okay, so the needs. Now let me. I'll be devil's advocate for a moment and throw it to both of you, but one at a time. So digital is a word that's, I guess, if I had to give this question a title, it would be RPA UG digital UG. And I will embellish and expand. So some of the market's just sick to death of certain terms. They feel like they're old, they're tired, they've either been hype or they haven't really manifested in the ways that they hoped that they would. Not to say that the technologies aren't hugely applicable and valuable and important. It's just in some cases it's the application of them. Digital transformation. That's a phrase and a concept that has been around for a long time. I think has as many definitions as people speaking the term. So I guess David first, is digital transformation still real? Is it hype? Do enterprises truly need it? Where have they struggled? Just because if we're launching something called SYKES Digital Services, we need to know that we firmly believe this trend is real and that we can help enterprises on their journey.
Brilliant. Well, yeah. So is it real? Parts of it are. And I think that's really where we're going with this. There's definitely a huge range of capabilities that exist under the digital transformation banner. And we're not trying to be all things to all people. There are, specialist firms out there that are the right ones to use for certain purposes. And really where we want to focus with our capabilities is really looking at how we can transform operations, but how we can do that with really a lens on that customer experience. At the end of the day, SYKES is SYKES is a customer experience management company, but it's always had that been at that intersection of customer service and digital and disruption since day one. When the first days of supporting the rollout of personal computers to homes, SYKES was there to deliver that support as people engaged that the most disruptive thing that's really affected business in the last 50 years at least. So we're trying to really take that legacy forward and making sure that as we do that, we are staying true to what we are experts in. So I'm afraid we're not going to be advising on the right 3D printer or how you can use blockchain in every conceivable possible process that you come across. Obviously, there are really good opportunities for those technologies, and there's a lot of great stuff that we do not do. But we will really be staying true to our heritage and really focusing on how do we transform business operations and how do we do that through the lens of the customer experience.
Very good. So my follow-on question of what's the best 3D printer to print blockchain is now off the list, which is disruptive because I really wanted to know the answer to that. No, thank you. And it really is interesting to put it in that perspective as far as the way that we've been helping clients all along. I'm gonna dig deep on customer in a moment, but Victor, I want your answer on this whole digital thing. Is it tired and overused, or are we just getting started? And what are your thoughts on the trend?
Well, it's hard to imagine any transformation without digital, right? So digital is there, and yes, it's overused, and yes, we use it a lot, but it is what it is. That's the name, what we've called this industry, digital transformation. So I think it's because that's truly who we are, a digital company. That's why we're called SYKES Digital.
Good. So let's talk about customer for a moment, because I think we can answer it in a few different ways, because I'm intrigued by your particular capability sets that you bring to this new family created within SYKES, the SYKES Digital. But I would assert there's always a customer. There's always a customer of a service or a product. There's somebody who interacts with it. So whether it's you've just joined a company and you're slogging through their HR system, you as the new joiner are the customer of all of the HR processes that they've put in place over time and the systems that they've cobbled together. Or David, to your example, you've just brought home your first PC and you're the customer trying to figure out how to turn it on and set it up. Or if you fast forward to today, you are in a much more complex environment with your home riddled with internet of stuff. Some things are tubes you're speaking to, some are eyes outside your front door telling you what's going on. So there's a customer to all of it. And as you mentioned, customer experience is it's oft talked about, but it's fascinating to me that some customer experiences are so cruddy when we've spent as much time talking about it as just as a universe as we have. Let's start with Victor, because Qelp, your background and your heritage has been very much in basically inheriting and in dealing with the outcomes of, in some cases, just non-existent self-help or just badly designed processes, sometimes just confusing products. Tell me about the sort of the end of the spectrum that Qelp has long led as a leader in the space.
Yeah, so we're experts in designing self-service experiences, and making sure that self-service actually helps. So to your point of those experiences that are not helpful, we see so many of them today, and we all have our examples, right? We all have our examples where you Google a problem and you're just not getting to where you want to be. You're Googling how to set up a new device in your home. You're Googling how to get into a service provider's app. And it always amazes me that when I talk to clients about customer service SEO, so search engine optimization for customer service, that you see so many light bulbs go, aha. And you see so many people think like, yeah, that we never thought about that before, that it's really fun to take those experiences and those conversations to a broader spectrum of capabilities, because behind that problem of an enterprise not thinking about the Google journey, the search engine result page for customer service, is a whole set of issues and silos and organizational design that we can help try to overcome that friction, that customer journey full of friction. So we have so many examples of that.
I've had a lot of guests on the show who are absolute experts in their field as it relates to customer experience and customer support, and so they all have, not too divergent, but they all have of their theories and their key points around what makes for a great experience, often sort of making the people who are delivering the experience feel like they've got some degree of ownership, making sure that employees are happy, making sure that customers have some sort of visibility, or that you put the customer at the center. Do you have any stories of a way that Qelp over its history really took a customer journey or an experience from just almost being non-existent to something that is the experience we all think of or aspire to achieve when we talk about an actual happy customer?
Sure. Yeah. Well, there's always a experience, right? There's always a customer journey. It's sometimes broken, but there is always something there. So clients come to us to help out with that particular issue. They keep on asking themselves, why do we still have calls in our call center for login problems, for example? And quite often we point them towards Google. We point them towards, okay, but really find out what's the intent of your customer Googling with your brand, Googling an issue.
Yep.
And that's that mind shift that I talked about before, where we sometimes have to tell our clients that their website is not the center of the internet. Their help and support website is not where people start. Google is, and sometimes in some regions Facebook is, but often than not, people just pull up, if they have an issue, their intent is to pull up their phone and Google it, or they ask a friend. They don't necessarily go to the website first, or they Google just what's your phone number. And if you then make it real easy for them to find that phone number, then that's where your problem starts with, hey, why do I have so many calls around this? So that's like we don't really start with content. We don't really start with the website itself. We just start to look at search.
Got it. There's an old meme I loved about user experience and design that had a sidewalk or a walkway that sort of took a jog, and then there was a dirt path that was the hypotenuse, and it showed sort of what your users actually do, right? They designed this walkway to go this way, and users just went, forget that. I'm trying to get there, and this is how I'm going to do it. And I think about that often when you share these stories with me, Victor, or we have these discussions. People aren't going to your website. They're not jogging around and looking for that page 15 deep on your website. They're literally, our habits are now ingrained. The way we as consumers do things currently is very Google oriented. In the future, as voice recognition and AI get better, it's probably just us asking that column or ball in our house to figure out the answer for us. How do you guys use user experience, user design, various different assessments like that to explore the difference between the legs versus the hypotenuse in any customer experience design?
So quite simple, putting the end user first. So always think about, okay, who's using this tool? Who is reading this piece of content that we design? End user first has been with us since we started, and it's probably the most important value that we have, and it's something that we recruit on, something that we measure ourselves on, something that we talk about with customers, because it's so it's not new, that's not the right word, but it is something to keep reminding our customers and ourselves on why do we actually do this. We designed this for end users, and end users might not look like us. End users, they can be very different demographics than we as a business. They might be a little bit older, they might not be so literate with technology. So it's really looking at that user experience research and finding out, okay, who is that person that we designed for? Because that's ultimately what will be most helpful. And you'll be puzzled what people Google when you start to talk about somebody's product and what people think they Google versus what actually happens. That differs more often than not, quite a bit. So that's the process design part of our work, right? Really thinking about, okay, when we help a client, let's make sure that we do the research piece, that we don't run to building something, that we really spend time. And that's the shift that we've seen over time is nowadays, a lot of our clients have a lot of self-service, right? They probably have too much content, too many departments with their hands on the CMS that can publish. And everybody loves their product. Everybody's really proud of what they made. So they love to talk about it and they love to write about it. And then that more often than not becomes a really complicated website, and where people don't really take in mind how simple it needs to be.
Yep. Fair enough. My takeaway from this discussion, by the way, is you'll be puzzled by what people Google, which I love. I'm going to take a break for a moment to welcome more of our friends from around the world. Shay, thank you for the hashtag #2take. Change all the logos, Shay. I'd said, let's see, Monica from Amsterdam, hello. Kat Hardy, Team Blue from London, hello, Kat. Vessel de Jong from Amsterdam, Ferecia from Texas, Dave Reichman from Salt Lake, Thomas Carruthers from Providence, Rhode Island. Hello, Nick. His name's Nick. Julio Furtado from Amsterdam, Pascal from Amsterdam. You got your Amsterdam peeps are coming in large, Victor. You're the winner. Pavel, also from Amsterdam. We've got Yella from Utrecht. Let's say Umesh from where? Umesh, you can't just say howdy unless you're in howdy, and then you have shared where you're from. Kedwin from Marin, hello. Alex Reeds literally just did a laughing face emoji, so I'll interpret that. I don't even know what you were laughing at, Alex, because I'm looking at it too late. Arnold from Monterrey, Mexico. So thank you all for joining us in this discussion. So Victor, you've talked about the consumer, the customer that interacts, how our habits have transformed to try to self-diagnose, self-serve, and right now Google is the starting point for many of us. David, let's take it to the other side of things. You and I spent a lot of time in operations. One of the earliest things we wrote was about adding or simplify and adding lightness as far as how do you look at operations in the machinery of an organization, because if that doesn't run well, then it manifests as a whole bunch of crappy outputs or customer experiences. So give us a perspective on sort of what is the intelligent automation component of SYKES Digital done over the last 6 years. How are we stitching it in to meet Victor in the middle to create these great customer experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think probably central to that point is, and it links in with what Victor was saying, but I won't go as far as saying the best customer experience is no experience. For certain things, there definitely can be that philosophy when you're getting into support, for example. You never want the need for your customers to need support. Different, but it depends on what the process is. If you're sort of provisioning a service or you're making changes to an account, then really what you're looking for is to remove as much friction as possible that you can from that process. And removing friction even from processes is really where RPA and intelligent automation started off, and it's what it does best. So really, if you can marry those two things together so that you're delivering a great customer-centered interface and web experience, not just web, but there's one part we haven't spoken about yet, SYKES Digital, which is digital learning, because the agent still remains at the center of this journey. Yep. But if you design the right customer experience, then you need to be able to back it up with what happens next, because there's no point having a beautifully streamlined, front door, and then everything falls apart beyond it. I'm sort of minded of an experience I've had this last week that I'm not going to mention a company for fear of attribution. But a certain well-known furniture manufacturer, known for efficiency and quality and really streamlining processes. When something like COVID hits and it changes the operating model right down to that foundation, those core brand values, if they can't be delivered in that customer experience during those times of change, then it really affects customer loyalty. My perspective is that customers are really loyal to an experience more than they are necessarily to a brand. So my experience this last week has been has not been great, because I place an order. It was supposed to turn up 2 days ago. The phone lines are too busy to take my call. The whole customer experience really falls down, and that's because of what happens after that initial transaction, what happens after the sale or after the request that comes in. And that is where I truly believe that digital operations can bring that value to that customer experience.
That's amazing. So was it the Flugen or the Carper or the Krappen? Anyway, I have no idea which.
Anyone is watching, please, if they could deliver my stuff, I would.
You just came on the show basically to escalate a customer complaint. That's that is sly. I thank you for thinking that I have a large enough viewership so as to solve your flat pack shipping issue. So two different things you said that I love and want to double click on or unpack. Both phrases I think are hilarious. One is that the best customer experience is no customer experience. There's so much research into this concept of not a net promoter score of would you recommend the thing you just went through to a friend, but a customer effort score of was that just as simple as humanly possible or non-existent, because that's really, at the end of the day, none of us want to pick up a phone or even be searching through some self-help library. We'd like it to just sort of anticipate and solve itself. And then the second thing is customers are loyal to an experience. That's hugely powerful because it really, as Victor said, putting the customer at the center of things, it forces an organization to get over itself effectively. It forces all of these different silos of product design and service design and supply chain and accounts payable or receivable, I suppose, to all just sort of get over their particular silos or their adherence or commitment to the tools they use and the processes that they've developed, and rethink everything with this intelligent customer experience in mind. And somewhere in the notes of this show, we'll put a link to this an ebook we did write on intelligent customer experience, which talks a lot about this. But so we're ultimately, I'll get us there and then talk about the spectrum. So SYKES Digital Services was our recognition that customer experiences suck a lot of times, and that some of it is just because of the separation of all these different silos, the disconnect, and ultimately oftentimes a failure to evolve to the way that customers are now naturally behaving. as far as the way that they self-diagnose and self-solve or search for help or et cetera. So you've got Qelp that's at the front end of where customers are going and trying to find help for themselves. You got Symphony as you said, in digital operations, that's trying to just simplify, add lightness, and operationally enable companies to create better experience. You mentioned learning and education as well. How does education play? And you mentioned agents, but talk to me about the education component in SYKES.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just testing my SYKES history now, but back in 2012, I believe, Victor will either nod or shake his head if I've got this wrong, but SYKES acquired a work-at-home capability in Alpine Access, and as part of that, there's existed Talent Sprout, which is a phenomenal capability which of course I sound completely unbiased when I say, but capability that's really focused around how do you redesign learning so that it can be delivered in the most complex of scenarios and situations. So when you've got agents that are in a work-at-home environment, how do you train what you need to train that agent in? I'm saying agent, and I'll come back to that in a second, but how do you train that person, the person who's going to be performing those activities, in a way that isn't a 6-week, classroom-based dynamic, but it's something where you've got to really captivate and hold that person's attention and make sure that knowledge seeps in a scenario when they're starting a new job maybe, or they're in a new circumstance. So that whole that legacy that we've got of digital learning for home working now obviously is really pertinent, but it's vital to bring that training in terms of, again, how do you remove as much friction as possible from these processes? And so you're spending time adding value, not dealing with the aspects that are detracting from that experience. And how do you also deliver, the best customer experience when someone is talking to your employees? And that's really a vital part in that end-to-end process. The ideal, and you can sort of see it as it fits together, the ideal is that depending on the contact, people are able to self-serve, or we're proactive in a way that doesn't require that customer to go out their way. But then if you are in that situation where perhaps it's a sales scenario, or perhaps self-service isn't able to support your need, and it needs to get through to an employee in order to help that customer, then it's about how do you deliver the best customer experience, and that's got to be focused on the skills and the competencies of that agent in that scenario, that customer service agent. And then how do you make sure that everything that follows lives up to that promise? And that's where the operations kicks in. So when we say, we're SYKES Digital Services, we're end-to-end, but we're end-to-end along we're keeping to our lane. This is all related to the customer experience.
Yeah. So two things. One, in the last few years where people have been fascinated by this robot concept and feared the replacement of humans with algorithms where they're going to take over all the jobs, a topic that is discussed too little and all too often forgotten is the idea that, first of all, we're not going anywhere. We humans, we're not going anywhere. We'll fight this day. But legitimately, there is always a role for us. There always will be. But it becomes more nuanced. It becomes, in some cases, more complex. Education, identification of skill adjacencies of that which made you good at the job you used to have, but we've, through digital operations, transformed it, augmented you a bit so that you can be better at the human side of things, better at the empathy, better at the judgment, better at the creativity. That's all too often overlooked. That's why I think this capability is so interesting, because let's just take it right down to the core business. Agents and call centers, their job should be getting more complex because people are handling the simpler tasks through self-help if it's designed well. If if you're able to find the status of your package, and you can sort of self-serve to know where it's coming, you don't need to pick up a phone. You're only picking up the phone for really complex stuff. You're changing an order, or you've got further questions, or you want to know how to use the product when it gets here if it's a really complex product. So that's why I love that one. That continues to really put everyone in the center, because you need the agents to know more. You need the customers to know more. And so that convergence of all of these different capabilities is really exciting.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, and to that point, I mean, digital is a disruptor that enables you to focus your workforce on adding extra value, on doing more higher value things for your clients.
Right.
But making sure that they're doing that in the best possible way is where the training comes. Yeah. So it's always with anything that's any transformation project, the automation business, Symphony, if I can still refer to Symphony as a historic sense now with SYKES Digital, it's I've always said that we're a people business, because the technology is only gets you so far, but it's how do you utilize that make the most of that opportunity and utilize those benefits. That's where you need to focus on the people, and that's that has got to be grounded in excellent training. Right. So regardless of who's delivering it, so that I don't sound like an advert, I apologize for my Symphony references and SYKES references. But however it is delivered, I don't think there's enough of a focus at the moment on training and personal development in the digital transformation space. And it is so vital.
Couldn't agree more. I think there's a fascination still with shiny things that distracts us from fundamentals. Training being one of them, change management being another. I think that's the root of why digital transformations are failing at such a massively high scale, 70%, some suggest even higher in some cases, failing or flailing or failing to scale. That all rhymes. And I'm going to break into song now, but so you need to approach it differently. So let's ask one particular question. In outsourcing, the world that we're in, often our brand isn't front and center. Often it's funny when I talk to my parents or my friends and they say, "What do you do?" And I have to say, well, when you call this company to check on an internet or your phone or a device in your house, there's a chance you're speaking to us, but we stay we're white labeled. We stay in the background. So there's roles that certain industries like outsourcing play. As things get more digitized, as we create capabilities to help people think about design, is it the BPO's role? Should enterprises, world-leading brands, be looking to partners like us? Or, as you just said, the best experience is very little if know us, because everything's been designed so well that stuff just sort of straight through solves itself. Is it crazy for a BPO to be launching a digital services group that seems to be focused on almost putting itself out of work, in so much as streamlining so that you're not calling someone to solve a problem?
Yeah, and I think it's what I think is important is calling on the experts to come in and do a specialist role. It's something we always do, right? You don't want a general contractor coming in and sorting your electrics and your plumbing and everything else. Well, perhaps you do, but at least over here, we'd want to have specialist trades for each of those areas. Yeah. And where I think we are that specialist trade is in all things customer experience. Yeah. So, if you're going to design your processes around the customers, you need to know what your customers are experiencing. And huge amount of that contact and then that content, that insight and that digital exhaust that comes out of the provision of services is really where we have grown such value in the market, as being able to handle, an obscene number of transactions. The number seems too big to be true whenever I see it in terms of what the whole of the site's capabilities handle in terms of content. So, so I think it would be wrong for us to go into an organization in, say, oil and gas and tell them, how to do a better job of fracking through digital transformation. That would be a bit of a stretch, but to say the least. But I think if you're looking at how do you transform your customer experience, I think if you're not doing that hand in hand with your BPO, with your captive centers, whoever is handling the contacts today, then you are, you're designing in a bubble. You're trying to design for what you believe. Back to that shortcut across the corner, right?
Yeah.
If you're stuck in a room and you've got some, highly educated and inspired people, I'm sure, but they're trying to design the sort of perfect route. If you're not considering the fact that all the time people are taking the shortcut, then you're not going to be designing an improvement. You're just going to be embedding that friction into that process even further.
Totally agree. Yeah, and Victor, you basically your game day, and by that I mean that everything that David just explained as far as I'm moving to a sports analogy now. So hang on and let's see if this works. But a team practices, it runs drills, it gets its uniforms, it gets its cleats on or boots. Okay, I just anglicized it, and gets all ready, and then gets out on the pitch. Still anglicizing, to play, and it all just falls apart. Every one of those pieces in preparation beforehand all led to what was hopefully going to be a great game, but then what happens on the pitch is real. You cannot argue with it. You're effectively that, because you get to see once a product is designed and developed and the call scripts are put together and the sales pitches are and the website's built and the self-help and the FAQ pages and everything else. The whistle blows, the game starts, and you guys get to see what's actually happening. And sometimes it's seamless, but I would imagine sometimes it is not. and so I guess just kind of wrap it together for us, this intelligent customer experience where you see how things aren't working in the field. All of the pieces that are now part of this group, SYKES Digital, how does that prepare us for a really or how does it prepare our enterprise customers for a really successful game day and then a great game when it's being played?
Great layup. I was wondering where this was going to go.
That was. And I only do long lead-ins, by the way. This show is like mostly me asking very, very long questions, and then hoping that guests can save me from myself. So go ahead.
The key point you added is game day, getting prepared for game day. What we see so many times, and what we think, and what I think we have we're credibly bringing to the table, is that we know what you need for game day. And so many times we see clients racing to a product launch or a change in their releases or a change in their processes, where we are able to point them from experience and with our data, say, hey, you're forgetting this. You're forgetting the training, the learning and development side of things. You're forgetting about Google. You have not thought about your back office processes or your claims processes. So we have a broad spectrum that sometimes our clients either do not have, or they're so focused on what they're really good at that you can't ask them to be experts in customer experience. So more and more we see clients, and sometimes they're not the big companies in the world, but the really successful newer economy companies that just ask us for, okay, can you just take over this specialized field of customer experience pre-game day? And then during the game, we can help and optimize and steer, and we don't take over necessarily. We don't say, hey, well, this is ours now, leave it with us, and you'll hear back from us in a month's time, right? This is really a collaboration. This is what BPO has always been about. It's been about partnership and being part of the same team. To your point around being white label, right? You're really not a separate entity. You really work together with your clients. Yeah. So I think that's really where the strength comes in, and the reason why we feel that we have a role to play in this.
That's outstanding. So it is very much a partnership, a collaboration. The enterprise. I can't help myself, Katrina. I'm going to attempt what you've just suggested. Katrina has just suggested. I've used a lot of sports analogies, but she's waiting for a curling reference. So the enterprise puts the stone on the ice, perhaps even shapes it, designs it, and pushes it. But we work together with them to sweep the ice, to enable it to succeed once that stone is launched in the market, like a product. There we go, Katrina. I've just made a curling reference with little or no knowledge of curling.
Up until then, I thought the game we were playing was American rugby. You know,
not a sport, but I get it. Yes. This is the part with two-take where it goes off the rails. So we're combining a lot of extremely valuable capabilities that the organization has acquired over time. We absolutely see the need for enterprises to partner because they have, as you said, David, extremely capable, intelligent, excited people who are developing products and services they're proud of. But there's just a lot of complexity, especially in this day and age, in that entire spectrum of the customer journey, everything from service and product design, which we can influence by just the insight and analytics we've got of what works, what doesn't work, what we've learned from our experiences as helpers to consumers as they interact with the product, to the digital operations that enable the organization to seamlessly work inside itself, to then the digital channels where we are educating the consumers and the service providers and the agents to create experiences that are great when they happen, but doing everything up to that point to effectively avoid the experience, to create a seamless transition wherever we can. And that to me sounds like a true holistic digital transformation story that's not horse blinded or fascinated by a particular tool or a particular design methodology or a particular the piece of the entire framework that makes this work. So are we going to be able to help enterprises recover from the massive disappointment that I think so many are suffering in this digital transformation attempt and era?
Yeah, I mean, this is such an interesting time in our history, and I'm sure as we look back on this 10 years ago, we'll look at 2020 with a desire to forget a lot of it, but we will also look at it with a view of how much it has accelerated disruption, and it just out of necessity. Within SYKES, we've gone, I think, bounced forward 7 years in terms of progress of the trajectory of home working over that period. Brick and mortar businesses are now having to go online, and retail outlets are again forced to provide that same customer experience that they're known for and that their customers are loyal to within an online environment. So I think there's a lot of disruption at the moment, which is as a sign of the circumstances that we're in. I think as we go forward the next year, it'll be really interesting to see how organizations address the opportunity that has presented in their markets, and try and get that balance right between a very short-term pragmatism and focus on results, which I think we've really seen being the focus of 2020, that everybody wants immediate results, because if it's going to help me in 9 months' time, I'll have a different business in 9 months' time. I need it tomorrow. So that really sort of promoted that real clarity of thinking and focus on impact. But to the same extent, it's also seen some of the longer-term strategy being put on the shelf, because what good is a longer term strategy if you're not going to survive in the next 9 months, or if you're not going to seize that moment? And it's not all about sort of the negativity of an organization that may be really struggling in these 9 months. The ones that are successful, we always said during our growth, I'm fed up of nice problems to have, because as you're which you appreciate the why they are nice problems when you see the other side of it. But when you are growing and there's such demand coming in, we've seen that with some of our clients, if you're not quick to react and you can't continue to deliver that experience, then your customers will go elsewhere. So you are creating the environment that's perfect for a new disruptor to come in if it's not going to be one of your legacy competition. So I completely understand the need for pragmatism, focus, and quick results. And so we've done a lot of work on making sure that we can support clients that need that. What I'm hoping over the next year and expecting, I'm hoping not for us, but just for just for the industry, I suppose, in general, or just as a consumer, I'm hoping, is a return to strategy, a return to looking at the bigger picture and not going for that doesn't mean starting a program that may pay back in 5 years' time and may have, may result in extra efficiency or something, but it's looking at, and it's a quote that Victor shares every now and again around Jeff Bezos. And, one day Amazon will go out of business. The job is to delay that day as long as possible. And, we need clients to have that sort of that focus on what do I need to do in order to, to compete in a world that's being so quickly disrupted now, and where new entrants can come in without all of the legacy of, sites and facilities and all of the cost base that goes with it, and really embrace digital and run quick and achieve a significant market share in a short period. So standing up towards that with strategic transformation is really vital, I think, for long-term success. But it's got to be balanced with that short-term survival. And that's really that this year's been about survival, either if you're in if you're in a growing business or a shrinking business for 2020. But next year has got to go back into looking at that longer term success and viability of the industry and the business, and how you set up not just to survive 2021, but how do you thrive in 25.
Ooh, thrive in 25.
Wow.
Nailed it right there at the end. No, completely agree. And I think the control group that 2020 was for us, of seeing what we need to survive, and really forced us to be very pragmatic about all of anyone's investments, anyone's focus, will stick with us. And I love what you say about how we need to emphasize strategy going forward. And hopefully we've learned a lot from the last few years of exploring digital capabilities, exploring design, exploring customer experience approaches, and they're all aggregated in a meaningful and holistic way that truly creates intelligent customer experiences, because that's what everyone should be going for, and hopefully is trying to go for. With that, I want to congratulate you both on the launch of SYKES Digital Services. It is very exciting. I know that you guys have been working really, really hard on it. I know that there's a huge team that you've worked with, many of whom I hope are watching. So congratulations, everyone, from the Symphony, the Talent Sprout, the Qelp families who are now part of this proud SYKES Digital Services family.
And if I can, if you forgive me, just to sort of extend on that and just say a huge thank you to everyone who has put such effort into to making sure that we're so well placed for success, and also as capabilities which would be it'd be a crime not to mention here, but we haven't discussed our insight analytics or our solution architects teams, which we're also extremely proud to have part of the group. So just really delighted to be at this day. So thank you, Ian, for giving us the platform, and to be in that position where I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone during these tough times. To be able to pull together and reinvent is a huge achievement, of which I am thankful for the team for achieving.
Outstanding. Well, thank you, David. Thank you, Victor. Thank you to everyone in the whole SYKES Digital family for for making this happen, and good luck. Congratulations. We'll put all the links to the website, the ebooks around intelligent customer experience. And if anybody has any questions, we'll make it very easy to find David and Victor, because please do get in touch. This is the discussion. This is the relevant and pertinent discussion every enterprise needs to be having. It is the entire focus of OneTAKE, effectively, is future of work life and culture, and how all of these capabilities make that happen. So thrilled to have you guys on the show today. And to everyone out there listening, stay safe, stay healthy, and we will come at you again very soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.